Retro Kev back again. Now, video response this time. Retro Gaming Lang has put out a great one. His first gaming memories, and he invited all of us retro gaming YouTubers to put our video responses out. And his one was really great, and I've seen loads of other good ones. So I thought, yeah, got to put my penny's worth in. So here it is. Now, I'm a bit of an old sod, as I've said before. So I go way back to literally right to the start, to some ways, to commercial gaming anyway. And I think I must have been about 8 or 9 years old, and I think it must have been late 70s, mid to late 70s. My brother brought home a device, and he brought this home. I thought, what the hell is that? You know, and he plugged it into the telly, and it ended up being a Binatone, one of those, they called it a TV or a grandstand, something like that, and it had supposed sports games on, but they were basically like Pong type games, like bat and ball games. There'd be a grid one. But he brought this back, and it just sort of blew my mind. It sort of blew my mind. When you're about 8 or 9 years old or whatever, I can't exactly remember. So we used to play that, myself and him, and I'd obviously play it on my own. But that was the very start. And then I move on a little, and I think, you know what, I can't remember where I was, but I saw Space Invaders and Asteroids. And I think I saw them about the same time, and they really upped the level in my mind. It was... Space Invaders was a really, really playable game. Really simple, as of course they were back then, but it was the old dun, 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 dun. It's the melodic type music. It was the playability of the game. And Asteroids, and I'm showing footage, as you can see, obviously. Now, the reason I'm showing the footage is because some people who are younger, you know, you may not even know what I'm talking about, some of the games. So I thought it's quite nice just to have a little bit of footage. Now, obviously, they're not the real arcade games, but they're emulators, the best that I could do. But yeah, Space Invaders, Asteroids, absolutely brilliant. And you know what, to a kid when you're 10, 11 years old, it's like, it just blows your mind sort of thing. And then I used to have a great friend I'm still in contact with now. He's a great sort of gamer. He never stopped computers gaming. He's very, very knowledgeable, but still in contact with him. And, you know, we used to go as kids down to, lived in London, used to go down to Wandsworth, South West London. Used to be an arcade down there. And I've said this story before. We'd go in there, and it was the usual to play games like Asteroids and Space Invaders. But another one actually, now it came to mind again, because I've got the footage of it, is a game called Battlezone, I think. And it was one where it was like, it's a vector type graphics where you went along in a tank. It's a black or green lining, as you can see in the footage there, and you had to shoot other tanks. Now that one, I think that's really old as well, but that one sticks in my mind. Battlezone, you know, it's quite a sort of quirky sort of game looking back at it, but that was a good one. But going back to the arcades in Wandsworth, we walked in one day, and I've told this story before. There it was, Defender the machine was there. Me and my friend were like, what is this? So I started, you know, watch a few people play it, and it blew my mind to another level. The sounds, speed of this game, you can see here, most of you will know Defender. But I think it's possibly my favourite game ever. It's my favourite arcade game ever anyway. And I've said this story before. We used to have to get a bus down to this arcade. We always put our bus fare money in one pocket aside for when we had to go home. And 9 out of 10 times we'd think, come on, let's have one more game, and we'd walk home. You know, it was a good walk home, a couple of miles uphill. But we love the arcade machines that much. We'd always do it. And, you know, often it was Defender that we'd put our last 20p in, but it's such good memories. That's just why it's such a good, one to do this video, because, you know. And the other thing is, I don't know where they're organised, but they used to organise these trips out to places like Bognor Regis, Margate, you know, even Southend, I think, and we'd go there. You know, you'd go to wherever the bus left from about 9 o'clock in the morning. The bus would take you there a couple of hours from London, and we'd spend the day 5 or 6 hours on the arcade machines there. And as Retro Steve said, you know, I remember seeing Hang On for the first time. I haven't got any footage of Hang On, but the motorbike game. Now, luckily, I'm quite a lanky sod, and I had long legs, and I was able to, you know, move the bike quite easily. I used to do really quite well at that game. One of the few games I was really quite good at. But those trips down to the seaside, they really, really stick with me as well. And another seaside place I used to go a bit further away is Poole in Dorset. My auntie used to live in Poole, Dorset. Probably my mum, you know, it was back in the day, you get sent off to your cousins or your aunties, whatever, for a week in the summer. And I'd go down there, and about a mile away from where my auntie lived, there was an arcade in Poole. I used to go down there, and there were good memories of me. And I could be on my own. just be on me, Todd, but I'd happily spend, a couple of hours in the arcade playing machines. But the reason I mention that one is there used to be a machine in there where it was a driving game, sit down one, you had to have a gun, I think, to shoot at people on the screen. But on the screen was actual video footage, not sort of graphics. And I don't know how responsive it was to the gun. It probably wasn't at all, but if you chased a car, you had to chase through the streets and stuff, and it was a real car you were chasing, you had a proper steering wheel. Oh, I'd love to know what that game was. If any of you can help me with what that was. So I know there's games that have graphics that you use guns. There's been quite a few of them. This one used video footage, and it must have been, I don't know, the early 80s. But that is a real memory for me. Too hazy, though, where I can't sort of figure the name of it. But that was another good one. So, yeah, Going to the Seaside. Another game that comes to mind is I've got the footage for, because it's all coming to me. I've got the footage, so I'm obviously doing the editing afterwards. But Missile Command. That was another one. They're all arcade machines because I didn't have anything at home then apart from that Binatone. But these blew that away, A Missile Command using the old ball. Now, I've got this footage here using the PS1, an emulator on the PS1 for those games. It's just not the same playing Missile Command without the ball, but it's another game really burns into my memory cells. I loved Missile Command. Top game, and I've actually seen that you can buy these sort of balls to use. I think one of my YouTubing buddies out there, if it's you, you've got one. I can't remember. If it's you, let us know and let me know where you got it, because I'd love to be able to use the ball again. But that was Missile Command. It was a top game. So, but I'm nearly getting there. Sorry, I'm sort of waffling again as I do sometimes, but I have to mention a handheld because I loved handhelds as well. Now, I don't collect the handhelds purely because I just haven't got the space. This little area I've got is really all I've got space-wise, but I would love to collect the handhelds. But I've got one handheld, and the reason I kept it is my dear old mum. My dear old mum, she's gone now, but I wanted a handheld back in the day. Now, there were some good ones out this time, Astro Wars now, and I did get Astro Wars in the end, which is probably my favourite handheld ever. But I remember begging and pleading my poor old mum. Mum never had much money, she was she'd do extra money for as cleaner to get some money to sort of get the things you really need in life. But I was begging and pleading with her, and, she got me this one, Missile Command. Now, I'll show you the footage here of me actually playing it. But what's amazing about it is, the little planes that you can see there in the footage going across. Now, they're on camera film, and the bit where the rocket goes up is a bit of plastic that actually moves up and down the sort of machine. So this is going back a bit. Missile Strike. God, I really looked after this, as you can see. I've done my best to look after it. I never kept the box, sadly. I don't know where I lost that, but it's a great memory. Right? It's a bit soppy, I know, but it's a burning memory in my mind that reminds me of my old mum, and the fact that she went out the way to get me that. And that links to my last one. The first proper home computing, it was the ZX Spectrum, as it was for loads of people. Now, by hook or by crook, I got some money together, and I got £100, remember. And at the time, the ZX Spectrum 48K was £129.95. I remember it. Dixon's or whatever doing that was the best deal you could get. And as I say, I only had £100. And again, my poor old mum, I look back, I've since spoken to my mum before she passed on about these things. And, I felt guilty having pestered her for that £30. But of course, in later life, she said, don't be silly, Kev. But, she again, about 4 or 5 days later of me going, Mum, I need £30. I was about 13 or something to get this Spectrum. And she walked in the door one day with £30 in her hand and said, Kev, here you go, here's your £30. And, I had the 130. Oh, God, she makes me tiny bit upset. But she gave me the £30. I added it to got the £130. I got the Spectrum. Oh, the rest was really history then. I was really into gaming then. And I'm showing this game. It's Ant Attack. I've mentioned it before, but for some reason, it's not my favourite Spectrum game, but it's the one, it's a real first memory, as the response is asking for, of the Spectrum. And I love Ant Attack for that reason. It's so nostalgic to me, and I still play it today. It's great stuff. But, that really sticks with me, the whole Spectrum stuff. Maybe it's why I love the Spectrum so much, because my dear old mum, she I don't think I would have got the Spectrum at the time. I might have just moved on to something else, but I got the Spectrum and I was off and running. But there you go. There are my video. That's my video response to the question, my first gaming memories. You know, I did waffle on a bit again. Sorry about that. But yeah, go for it. If you're out there on a YouTube channel doing retro gaming, do that response to this one, because it's really interesting to watch other people's. It's really great stuff. Anyway, I hope you're all keeping well, and I'll be back with another video soon. Take care of yourselves.